topic about electronic health records. Well, I'm not going to introduce all of you because our colleagues have already done that. But I would like to explore in this, during this session how these electronic health records are leveraging artificial intelligence in healthcare to improve diagnostics, streamline processes, and in general, enhance the patient outcomes. And as all we know, electronic health records have become the backbone of the care of patients nowadays in modern healthcare. But the integration of artificial intelligence and other technologies are truly revolutionizing their potential. We're moving towards a future where electronic health records are not just repositories of data, but powerful tools for clinical decision-making, workflows optimization, personalized patient care. So as you can see, we have a very multidisciplinary panel of experts, different point of view from well, within the ecosystem, from different institutions, different type of institutions as well. So I would like to start to give you the opportunity to introduce your companies, your institutions, your organizations, and to provide an overview of these organizations, and also explaining how your organizations are doing currently or plan to do to enhance patient care related with these electronic health records.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
So I'm Xabier Michelena. I work in the Catalan Health Service in the System Information Division under Jordi Piera, which gave the keynote speech this morning. So we are in charge of the digital health strategy. This is the disruptive innovation, so what is coming. And our main mission is building what we call the open platform. So the open platform has all the data of the citizens in the center, and then we plug all the apps around it. This is our aim. And then also we have the challenge of building what will be the future EHR that hopefully will be used in all the Catalan region.
My turn. Yeah, so thank you very much for the introduction and for having me here. I'm Ignacio Medrano. I'm a neurologist by background, and I was practicing at the hospital 10 years ago, and I thought, look at all this amount of information that we write every day in digital, fair enough, but we cannot reuse that. So key word is reuse, secondary use, using medical records as a database, as a big database that we can, on top of which we can describe, we can evaluate what is happening, outcomes, technology assessment, and we can also create predictive models with or without Gen AI today. But in any case, you need to put, you need to harmonize the information. You need to give structure. And it's not only OMOP, it's not only FHIR. You have also to enrich those databases with free text analysis, with natural language processing. That's not going to change. And that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years across 13 countries and more than 200 sites. I'm proud, not of myself, of my 100 people team, to say that we are the team, the institution that has read the biggest amount of medical records worldwide, with 5 billion with a B, clinical documents analyzed. But we only do that for the benefit of our colleagues that then, on top of that information, can look at things where before they were blind.
Thank you, Ignacio. And Rosa,
okay,
regarding AQuAS.
My turn. I'm also a neurologist by background. By now, I'm the head of HTA department at AQuAS. What we do well, I say here because we are placed in Barcelona. And what we do is to assess non-pharmacological technologies, health technologies, mainly medical devices. And with this assessment, we determine the value of the technology, comparing with the clinical standard care of the current use of the standard care. With this assessment, we also help in the decision-making to the reimbursement, financial issues, or to determine the common benefit package, for example, for the Ministry of Health of Spain, or for the other benefit package corresponding to the Catalan Health Service. Health technology assessment can also be used for example, at the hospital level to help in the decision with the procurement process. And all this information that I'm giving you now is because all these algorithms that you are developing, the intended use of the majority of them is for clinical purposes. So the majority of these algorithms are going to be softwares that are going to fall under the MDR, the medical device regulation. So first you have to certify, you validate your algorithms, and then to assess the impact. And we are the agency that are doing that. And also, for your information, we have already published a guideline to assess during the process of the assessment of this not algorithm, the software, but also we mainly focus on the assessment of technical aspects of this algorithm in a software that contains artificial intelligence. So I invite you to go to the webpage of AQuAS to consult this information, because we believe that taking into account all the domains, when we say domains, is the safety, the effectiveness, and also the organizational impact that the use of this device, of this software, is going to have in the healthcare system.
Thank you so much. And we often hear that about the potential of artificial intelligence to personalize patient care. How are these next-gen electronic health records facilitate this? How do you see that? What examples, or if any, can you provide from what you can see in your different institutions at the Catalan Health Service, at the HTA, or at Savana? Any excellent example that you can share with us?
So I think, and probably Ignacio will help me with this, the first algorithms we will see will be the ones that solve all the bureaucracy, so clinical documentation, extraction of data, and then all the rest will come, like personalized medicine. I think we started like trying to find the applications of AI in diagnosing better, or maybe selecting the correct treatment for the patients. We will reach there, but still there is a lot of bureaucracy that doctors do that can be easily solved with AI. The problem, and we were talking about that with Nacho before the panel, is that now we are running pilots in the different EHRs, but we are not able to escalate these pilots. They don't scale because obviously each institution has their own EHR, their own database, their own regulations, if you see it more worldwide. So we need to reach a consensus on how we save data, how we store data. We have very good standards like OpenEHR, to name an example. So we need to build this structure, this infrastructure where data is in the center, then build the apps, and then we will be able to plug AI. But as a doctor said, we had an interview a few days ago. He said, we will have an EHR with AI before a proper functional EHR. So first we need to solve the foundation of the EHR. We are using EHRs that were designed 20, 30 years ago with the same technology. We haven't advanced. So first we need to solve this, and then we will be able to use AI in EHR.
Thank you, Xabier.
Yes.
Nacho? No.
Well, I agree that the first is to solve these kind of problems, but we have to face also that many hospitals are developing their own algorithm for clinical decision support also, and we have to guide them on that, because if this is an in-house algorithm, there are no previous assessment that we can do as agencies, and we need these electronic health records to be prepared to monitor the performance of this algorithm and the impact of this algorithm. So the electronic health records can also to be developed, or are also developed to also to address this issue. Mm-hmm. To say, okay, so we need to monitorize even continuously the performance of this algorithm, but also the impact of this algorithm. A colleague of us in another forum from Canada, he mentioned that they have developed this algorithm to prevent the preventative mortality in the hospital, in different hospital settings. And they have done this, they have published the data, but not in a peer-reviewed journal. They have published this on television, and so many people is focusing on that, and they want to copy that. So you say that, no, the first step is that, but we have to face that people are using that for clinical decision support in everyday life, and they don't understand that this is a medical device. And we have to address that as a medical device also.
Yeah, and I agree with you that we are living this, let's say, paradox where some things are going faster than others, where you wouldn't think that that's intuitive. So here you have generative AI already creating records automatically, listening to a conversation, which is like future already happening, while until now we're not really extracting variables from medical records to assess if a drug works or not. We do that seldom, but we don't do it on a regular basis. When technologically that is also available. As of today, you don't have, after attending your patients, you don't have to create a new database to say if a drug works or not. You can go directly, mine the medical records using computational linguistics, and you can assess a technology. You can assess a drug. So that's like a disbalance that now we have the opportunity to solve. And then on top of that, we have the predictive algorithms that some people are creating. But there's also many questions open there because, as you said, once you create them, how do you deploy them? That's not entirely clear. No one has a response to that. Are we going to put them in the workflow of doctors? Why are they going to use them? I think we're like going through the moment where creating the algorithms and validating them is quite straightforward. Using them and monitoring them is not that clear. So I think those are the challenges for us.
And we're hearing a lot about data. You mentioned several times data, so I would like to link that with the European health data space. The main goal is to create a secure framework for health data, interoperability of this health data. And I would like to know, how are your organizations preparing for the implementation of this European health data space, and how do you think it will impact in the European health records, and how your institutions work with that?
Well, I can start from the Catalan Health Service. Since 2023, we already have a clinical data repository, which is based on OpenAir, which is an interoperable standard. And we've migrated, actually we finished last week, all the shared record of Catalonia into the CDR, into the clinical data repository. So we are basically prepared for the European health data space because we have the data of the citizens in an interoperable standard. We are still not prepared, or probably culturally not prepared, to understand, and me as a clinician, well, we are all clinicians here, but really embrace the fact that the data is from the patient. So the patient should be able very easily to download all the data from his or her EHR and just plug it on wherever they want. And this is one of the main aims of the European health data space, and it's a challenge that we need to face. And
do you see it feasible?
Yeah, obviously, because we already have the data, it's just giving the platform. We have La Meva Salut, which is an app that the patients can download their own information. They have some information, but now we need to just plug everything there, and they will be able to. And then there's all the probably Rosa Maria can help us with that, all the regulatory thing about the European health data space, how all the governmental, all the observatories that need to be built to assess the quality of this data, because obviously this is also a challenge.
I like to keep sight of how much we evolved along these 10 years, because sometimes we tend to forget, it's like a bias. But 10 years ago, when we started and we went to a hospital or a region and said, we want to reuse your medical records to create predictive algorithms or descriptive algorithms or descriptions. First of all, ethical committees didn't approve this because they didn't understand what we were talking about. Second, IT departments were not ready to give us access to the medical records. De-identification tools were not ready. There was no OMOP, no standards of interoperability, just the old ones that didn't really make it. Legislation wasn't clear about informed consent or not. All of that happened. Now there's a GDPR that says very explicitly, if you use it anonymized and for research or management, it's okay to use it without informed consent. There are standards, there's EDEN, there's OMOP, there's OpenEHR. There is, of course, GenAI, which is going to help us a lot along the way. Ethical committees approved these projects. I mean, the whole thing changed. And now, on top of this, COVID arrives. And because the COVID situation arrives and we realize about how slow we are in data intelligence compared to the Eastern countries, the European Commission says we have to go in this direction. And we create the European data space, which basically says it is of being a good European to share data. While 3 years ago, it was to be a bad European not to share clinical data. I've lived that nightmare for almost 10 years of my life. And it shifted so quickly. And on top of that, they inject funds, hundreds of millions for the regions to keep up with this. So I think we're going through very nice and optimistic times with all the challenges and everything, but things are really changing very fast, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as an HTA agency here and in Catalonia, we have access directly to the secondary use of this data for the assessment purposes, and we want to be also actors, priority actors, to have this access to the data, to the European health data space, to this precisely to the assessment of these technologies that are going to be prioritized to be assessed at the European level. So the HDAR is the regulation for HTA at the European level is going to be related to the secondary use of the data of the European health data space. And we have to be prepared for this kind of use and for the assessment of this software, of this algorithm. As I mentioned before, we cannot do this previous assessment of the review of the literature because the main results are not going to be there, are going to be in the European health data space, and we will need to have very clear this pathway to the access to this data for the secondary use.
Mm-hmm. And we have talked about the challenges, but in looking ahead, what are the most exciting developments of artificial intelligence regarding the electronic health records integration that you anticipate that may come in the following years? And talking about Spain and our ecosystem, how do you think they can shape the future of healthcare in Spain, but also beyond?
Well, I think that, as Ignacio said, the technology is already there. And being optimistic, I think in the next 2-3 years, there will be a big shift because we have all the ingredients to make this happen. And I envision a clinic without computers, like just being present there, speaking to the patient, touching the patient, and all the clinical documentation being done by being captured by a microphone, and then you only have to validate. Also, all the telehealth, all the telemonitoring. I think all this will get applied, and yeah, I think the technology is already there. We just need to put the infrastructure, which is money at the end. But I think we are in a good place, and it will change practice, and it will also have to be followed by a cultural transformation of the institution, the doctors, the nurses, because we're still doing medicine like we were doing it like 20 years ago. I mean, if you go to a consultation, you still have the desk with the with the bed there. I mean, we haven't changed much. I think in the next few years we will see this change.
Okay, so your answer was in the generation of records, which is incredibly exciting. So my answer will be on the use of medical records as a data source for predictive modeling, which I think is incredible. So this year we've seen that only with information coming from written medical records, not even images or anything, you can predict Alzheimer at 7 years with machine learning. And that's going to grow more and more. And then you include multimodality. So several data layers, images and ECGs and pathology, and that is going to give us incredible biomarker prediction capabilities. that we didn't have 5 years ago. I think that is encouraging because that's the kind of individualized medicine that we all want to do, we've always wanted to do. And now we're ready, the technology is there. Then we will have to evaluate that they work, what's the area under the curve, and how they generalize, which is a big challenge. But, I mean, this has been a dream for us, and now it's so close, we're touching it.
Yeah. But we have to enrich this information, the knowledge, because for the past decades, using the electronic health records, what we have faced is the written is poorer. The information, lack of this enrichment that we need to do this assessment. 100 years ago, doctors, physicians write long stories about that, and we have studied that, and all our knowledge comes from that. And now with this structurization, I don't know if they will exist, I think that we can have this problem of impoverishes this information. And I don't want that. Reading the information is very needed. It's something that probably for you, you will say, okay, of course it's very needed, this information. But we have had faced now is that the key element to have this decision or to make the decision maker to have this decision often lacks. So we don't have this information, and this information comes from other sources. Mm-hmm. And if we focus only the source of information to this structured data, we can miss the rich information that the patient, the environment is giving to us. I don't know if you agree or I agree that with the AI, but I agree that the AI can enrich that, not with hallucinations, but enrich with clear information and relevant information.
Yeah, we probably focus very much on what you can obtain from a clinic, but the idea of this platform with data in the center is that, for example, patients with their own apps could send us data in a standard that we well understand and that we can use for these predictive models. Social care, the social determinants of health, this will be very important, like knowing your population, maybe targeting a specific population for a screening program because you know that there's something in the air happening. I mean, you need all this enrichment of data, I completely agree. But first we need to have the foundation to save them in a way that we can understand it. Mm-hmm. And this is not related to generative AI or AI, it's just about handling data and putting an infrastructure where all this technology can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the main problems that we can have in the following years is that this data or this access to electronic health records are not accessible to everyone or are not equitable. How do you think we can make them accessible and equitable for everyone to avoid these differences among the citizens?
Well, I'm always answering the questions.
Well, we're going to start for Nat or Rosa this time.
I think it's the same thing. If you use open standards, health standards like Open EHR or OMOP for secondary use, it's just like we need to reach clinical consensus on what is the information we need, and then try to make all the policymakers, all the decision makers adopt this type of standard so that all the EHRs, or most of the EHRs, ideally it would be great if we had one, but this won't happen, but at least that all the tech companies that are doing their apps to save the data in an interoperable standard, or think about that, how they will be able to plug into these EHRs. And this is the key message, probably.
Mm-hmm. I would say, just to be a bit provoking here, isn't it possible that within not many years, one day we wake up and we get on Amazon or whatever app, and there's a tool there €9, €10, and it's a change of discriminative AI predictive algorithms where you upload your information and it tells you X, Y, Z, depending on your health condition. Then they refer you to sites, to actual physical hospitals. Amazon is acquiring hospitals. Isn't that something that, with the nice and friendly interface of generative AI in natural language, can happen in 2, 3 years, 4 years maybe? And I think that's something that we have to be thinking about because it comes with risks. And we don't want that to happen outside the healthcare system because we know how externalities are in healthcare. And I think that's the kind of thing that we should be looking at when we think about access to information, because people find their way. They're going to find it. And if access to healthcare is so difficult and it's becoming more and more difficult to primary care, somehow they're going to run into these AI chatbots. And they're so technically so ready. This is not 5 years ago. This is happening now.
Yep.
So yeah, I would focus on my thinking on that.
Yeah, it's about also to have these different layers to be, or to make this data understandable for anyone, because at the end you want someone to tell you, this doesn't matter, this is not important.
Exactly.
You want, and you go to your primary physician healthcare. So, and I think that we have to be even more creative when we say, okay, you have access to the data, and you say, okay, your blood pressure is 152 plus whatever. And they say, what does it mean that? So the layer for population has to be different. And also the way that we transmit or transfer this information to the population. It's not because we can also, we are thinking about people that are like us, that we have the mobile phone wherever we go, but not many people at the more vulnerable don't have this access. So we have to say, okay, so this is very exciting, but we cannot forget that some vulnerable population are not going to have access, and we have to provide this access in some other ways. So I think that we have to facilitate the data, but thinking about the population and beyond.
I agree.
Thank you so much. So to finish this panel, I would like to all of you give one sentence, one take-home message, just the key message that you would like to provide the audience to close the session. Who would like to start?
Data-driven EHRs.
Today, there's not one rational single reason to collect data manually, because a machine can do it.
Yeah.
And at the end, the assessment of the impact is what really matters.
Thank you so much. Don't forget these messages. And with this, I would like to close this session. Big round of applause for the experts, for our panelists, and thank you so much for being here.